day 11, day 12 of quarantine. I don't remember which. I I'm just I'm losing my mind, man. I'm losing my mind. Hey everyone, how you doing? It's late. It's like, what time is it? It's almost 11. I don't know. Is that late for you? It's kind of late. I go to bed at like usually between midnight and 1 a.m., so that's kind of semi late for me. I was sitting around and I was thinking, man, at times like these where you have to spend a lot of time, in your house and stuff, a vlog channel would probably be a good thing to have. I'm like, oh wait, I do have one of those. Crazy. It's been forever since I just sat down and did a vlog video for no reason. I don't know why. I just like honestly, I can kind of tell you why. And this quarantine thing has kind of shown me that. Um, I don't leave the house too often. like, I mean, I do, and it does suck because things that I used to do like pretty much every week, me and my friend Chris and his brother Jake and maybe some other people, we'd all get together and we'd all go out to just see a movie together. We did that like every week or maybe every other week. We go to the movies quite often, and movie theaters closed, so can't do that. At least every week, me and my mom would go out to have dinner somewhere, nice meal, eat out somewhere. Can't do that. Although last week, and that's actually, I do have a story involving this. There is an overarching story here, but last week my mom and me had to go out. We had to go to Altoona, which is a town that you've probably never heard of, so I don't know why I mentioned it. But we had to go to the doctor, not because we had, well, this is going on the vlog channel, so I guess I could say it. COVID-19. Yeah, YouTube is kind of weird with that. Like, I don't know if saying it will trigger it, but I do know that if you put it in the title or the description of the video, it can get demonetized. But vlog channel, so who gives a shit? So anyway, no, my mom, I had to go see her dermatologist. So we had to go up there, and afterwards we wanted to eat out, but obviously all the restaurants were closed, so we got takeout from Red Lobster, which is a place that we really like to go to. And she was really upset because they didn't have Caesar salads. You couldn't order out a Caesar salad. She even asked the lady in the parking lot. She's like, "Why can't I order a Caesar salad?" And she's like, "Well, because we're not getting any produce." I'm like, "Ah." So we ordered out Red Lobster. We brought it home. We ate it. It was fine. Um, but yeah, beyond that though, beyond going out to the movies with my friends or going out to eat with my mom or just going out to get groceries and just do other stuff, hang at my friends' houses, pretty much don't leave the house too often. I'm particularly glad right around now that I no longer work at Dollar Tree. Like every now and then I'll think back on it like, oh man, I miss Dollar Tree a little bit, or rather I miss the people I worked with when I was working at Dollar Tree. But now I'm thinking, oh god, I'm so glad I don't work there anymore because being around people a lot and just having them cough or sneeze, and that's my mom works as a cashier at Walmart and that's her thing. So I'm like, okay, now my mom's very careful with that. She has hand sanitizer, she washes her hands, she does the hand sanitizer as much as she can. And it seems like most people have like by and large most people have gotten the memo. There's a few people that are like, fuck this, I'll do whatever I want, but for the most part it's like, okay, yeah, we'll keep distance, and if I have to sneeze or if I have to do something, I'll make sure to go away from people, or if I absolutely need to sneeze, I'll do it in my my arm. Most people are okay with that. But still working as a cashier, and anybody else that ever worked in retail will understand this. Like, you're gonna interact with things that people touch. I mean, it's just gonna happen, especially money, because obviously you're a cashier, you gotta handle money. Well, here's the thing you don't think of: you're handling like dozens of people's money throughout the day. If you don't wash your hands, and this has happened many times to me while I worked at Dollar Tree, eventually you handle all the money and change, and eventually your hands just get black or just like with dirt and grime from just people's money, just handling it over and over and over again. So it's just, thinking back on that now, I'm just like, okay, I don't do that anymore. I work from home. I do just YouTube as a full-time job. And so the only way I could probably conceivably get sick is if my mom gets sick and then comes home, which that's happened before. Actually, I just got a cold a couple months ago because of that. It was either my mom or there was one of my friends that had it. Like everyone I knew had like a common cold at that point, and I ended up catching it. So it could have come from a bunch of different reasons. So I'm kind of like saying to my mom, I'm like, okay, like I'm not telling you what to do, but as soon as you get home, if you could like wash your hands and just, go into this, environmentally sealed room that I'm constructing and just like, decontamination chamber or something. That would be lovely because I really don't want to get this. The county that I live in, Cambria County, Pennsylvania, we just had our first few cases of coronavirus here. The main hospital in the area, the big town, the big city in Cambria is Johnstown, PA. The only way you've probably ever heard of Johnstown is it was where the Johnstown flood happened, multiple floods, because it's a city that's built in a valley, so it floods a lot. But there was the famous, infamous, really, Johnstown flood of 1889, so that's an historical moment there. It was actually probably one of the biggest things with that was it was the first big thing where the Red Cross, the American Red Cross, actually participated and did something there. So, there you go. But that's the town anyway. And the Conemaugh Memorial Medical Center is there, and they just had their first few cases of that. So I'm still like, if Cambria County, it's kind of shaped like a rhombus, I think is the shape. It's like imagine a rectangle, but it's like shifted this way. So Johnstown's like in the southern area, and I'm kind of like up here in the northern area, like really truly out in the country, like in a tiny mountain village. So, I'm hoping everything is good. I'm hoping I don't get it. I hope wherever you are, if you're living in a city or something, like, I can't even imagine that. Like, it's so weird. Like, I remember maybe back in December or very early January when this was first going on in China, I remembered watching a Facebook video of it was a British citizen that was living in China. He was living, like, in the city where that, like, this happened in, like, where this all started. And he was just talking about what it was like living in quarantine and like only going out for essentials, basically what everybody's doing now. And I remember watching that video and thinking to myself, like, this was only a few months ago. It must have been like either December or maybe even January. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, that's crazy. That's like on the other side of the planet. I hope that doesn't come here. So here we are. I only go out. I mean, I go out for walks and exercise, which is important to do that. I mean, if you live in a city and there's a lot of people around, it might be like I'd be really worried about doing that. I'm not like a germaphobe or anything, but given the circumstances. But living out here, it's pretty spacious. So I still go outside every day, weather permitting, to go for a run around town or, just rant around a field. There's a big field up at the top of town, and I just walk around there and just get some fresh air and get outside. That's very important to do still. And I would recommend that as well, as long as you're not like encountering a lot of other people and stuff. Then go out in your yard or something just to get some fresh air. It's nice. But other than that, I'm just literally leaving every few days just to go get food. And today I had to go to Walmart. We had to get water and some bread. I was really surprised. They actually had pretty much everything I needed today. Because Walmart the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty sorry looking. Like no meat, for anything I wanted to cook something. I mean, there was steaks, but no like ground beef or anything for me to cook with. Ice cream aisle got hit really hard. That's still recovering. Tater tots, most tater tots, waffle fries, any kind of fry product, that's all gone. Bread aisle was completely wiped out. But I went in there today, and they pretty much had everything I wanted. So that was good. I mean, they had little signs like, hey, we recommend you don't take more than you need, and I know there was a few fights that broke out at a few Walmarts around here. Not the one where my mom's worked at. My mom has said there's a few disagreements over some stuff every now and then. Or my mom has to remind people of like, hey, you want like 3 hand sanitizers, maybe there's a limit, and usually people were okay with it. They even had some toilet paper in, which... Thank God for that, right? Because in the middle of all this, toilet paper, like look, I don't know. Here's something. It's just me and my mom that live here, just me and her. Maybe if you have a big ass family, if you live like the McAllisters from Home Alone, and you got like a mother and a father and like 5 kids running around and like extended relatives living in your living in your house, maybe you need like a lot of toilet paper, okay? But you'll be okay. Like, what we normally do around here is we buy, like, the big bags of toilet paper, like, the big, like, 24 packs of toilet paper, and that lasts us months. Like, literally months. So, last week, we went through a roll of toilet paper, like the roll we had before all this quarantine stuff happened. I'm like, okay, we ran out of roll of toilet paper, so I put another roll in. And I was like, okay, this was Thursday at 11:30 a.m., so I want to see how long it takes us to go through a roll. And here we are almost a week later, and it's only half gone. So I think we'll be okay on toilet paper. But yeah, So I didn't get any today because they had it. I went to go see if they had Animal Crossing, because everyone was like, Animal Crossing, play Animal Crossing. Roger, playing Animal Crossing. My friends all playing Animal Crossing. And I went to go see if they had it. They were actually out of it. So they were out of that's the two big necessities in Walmart. Like they're well, no, they did have toilet paper, but they were out of Animal Crossing. It doesn't matter anyway, because right now I am so immersed in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You don't even fucking know. Like, this is a game that I've heard talked about so many times over the years. Like, it's like I've always heard like, oh, it's such a good game, but it's so big, so massive. Angry Video Game Nerd, he did a video on this years ago, and I was actually one of the things that I've also been doing is just rewatching his entire back catalog of videos. My friend Phil's doing the same thing. My friend Phil called me up today, and we were talking, and he's like, "I'm watching AVG," and I'm like, "Holy crap, I am too!" Because it's great. And so I've heard so many people talking like Symphony of the Night, such an amazing thing. And I'm thinking, hey man, quarantined, having a big ass RPG to take my mind off things and just get obsessed with, that sounds like a good time as any to do that, right? So I got the anniversary edition with Rondo of Blood on the PlayStation 4, and I've been playing Symphony of the Night for the last 3-4 days, something like that, and I just got to the inverted castle, which I'm just halfway done. I have maps of them too. Like the map of this game is just massive. There's 2 maps, and look at this. This is insanity. I love, by the way, thank God for nerds, because you can pull up maps to like where literally everything is now, which is pretty much cheating, but I can't imagine playing this game back in like 97 when it first came out. Must have been crazy. I'm very self-conscious about touching my face now. Like, I just washed my hands a little bit ago, but now I'm like super, super conscious of touching my face. I'm like, don't touch your face, don't touch your face. And then, sure enough, I find myself touching my face. So yeah, but you know, we're good, we're good. Um, so yeah, it's a great game, and if you were looking for something like some time to kill, even if you're not a fan of the Castlevania games, because the only Castlevania game I've ever played before this was Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo. On an emulator, and it's a great game. It's fantastic. It's very simple, straightforward, linear side scroller. Very great game though. A lot of fun. But even if you weren't a fan of Symphony, I mean, weren't you a fan of Castlevania? Play Symphony of the Night. You'll like it. I mean, it's fine. There's a couple of things shaped in like the Castlevania lore, which I've also been getting immersed in the past few days. Like this is just the stage of this quarantine. It's just I'm obsessed with Castlevania, and so I'm looking through all the games and I'm reading all the lore and all the different Belmonts and shit. And I love this. I'm eating this stuff up. I've been a fan of the Netflix adaptation since that first came out. So technically, I played Castlevania 4 years and years ago when I was in high school, and then the Castlevania show came out, and I just started watching it and just loved it, even though I'd never played any of the games beyond 4. And now Symphony of the Night and shit's tying all together with the lore and everything. So yeah, after Symphony, I'll probably play I don't know, whatever's. I heard Lament of Darkness is really good because that was like the first timeline part of the game. I have a bunch. I can get all the NES games and shit on my emulators. So that's fine. But that's what I'm obsessed with right now. Playing that and playing, not playing, but reading the rest of Deathly Hallows. I got to be completely honest with you. I've been a little bit more preoccupied with Symphony of the Night than reading Deathly Hallows, because I've been on Deathly Hallows for like a week or over a week, and I've only gotten up to chapter 12, and I'm only like 220 pages in. But I read a few chapters today, so hopefully we'll kind of figure out a good balance here between, gaming and reading. And I went outside today just to get some air, take Duchess for a walk. She's doing good. She has allergies. We had to take her to the vet a couple weeks ago. She always has really bad irritations, so we'll get her some extra, pills for that or whatever she needs. How are you doing? This is life. The story I was going to tell you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to bring up before the story. Anything major? I've been cooking a lot. Made sloppy joes, made some steak that one night, made breakfast for dinner last night. Just look, okay, listen, here's the deal. I don't usually eat bacon because it's like, bacon. It's delicious, but it's not like the best for you, right? But I had some bacon, and I bought some at the store, and I'm like, you know what? It's quarantine. I'm making bacon. So I made bacon and eggs last night, and it was delicious. It was great. So yeah, cooking Deathly Hallows, Castlevania, and videos too. Videos as well. Videos also keep my sanity. That part of my life really hasn't changed much. That's still, make videos a day. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'm actually doing a collab with another YouTuber tomorrow. Um, so I don't know, because I don't know if I'll get a video out tomorrow. I might get a live stream out. We'll have to see how that goes. Um, I do intend to continue the Black Clover discussions. I know some people, there was a video where I said, like, I implied the Black Clover discussion's over, and it's like, it's not. It's just really whenever I get around to it and I feel like making the videos. It's like I have to want to do the videos. But considering we just got that chapter with Gray, and I'm not going to go more into it there because spoilers, but we just got the chapter with Gray and her backstory, and I'm thinking this would actually be a great time to do the video. So I do intend on continuing it. I just don't know when, so I can't give you a date. But I do have a Geography is Everything planned coming up soon. Yeah, and there's One Piece is on a break this week, so that's going to be rough to get through that. I might do a thing on My Hero Academia. I do plan on doing another Miracle video, so look forward to that. And just the dates on these are just, whenever. I don't really, like, Monday this video, Tuesday this video, Wednesday. I don't really do that. But yeah, and there is a sponsored video coming up as well. There's another one I'm working on, but beyond that, yeah. So anyway, story time. Okay, so me and my mom go to the dermatologist. Don't worry about it too much. She was getting a mole removed, and I don't know if she wanted me to tell my YouTube audience that, but she wanted to get a mole removed and some skin tats taken care of. So we go to the dermatologist. Okay, we get there, and this was last Thursday. So we get there, we go in, their office is still open, but there's nobody in the waiting room when we walk in. So we sit down, she goes and fills out the blah, 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 blah. And there's an old lady that walks in, and she was just this little brittle old lady, and she walks up, and she's like, I have an appointment. And it's like, by the way, do you have any face masks, ma'am? And, I was like, sorry, ma'am, we don't. And she's like, oh, okay then. So it was because of the whole social distancing thing, me and my mom are sitting on the left side of the room, and then there's like middle chairs, and then there's the right side of the room. So the old lady sits in the middle, and then later there was a group of people that walked in. It was an elderly couple and their daughter, and I guess the elderly, the mother had to go to the dermatologist, so the daughter went back with her, and it was just the old man sitting there. Okay, so then guy comes back and he's like, my mom is like, oh, it's Karen, it's time for your appointment. And so my mom goes back. Okay, so it's just me and this old dude. All right, now I don't pay any attention to this guy except for the fact he kind of looks like Santa Claus. Okay, he giant red sweater to begin with, big guy, he's got a gut, big red sweater, glasses, bushy white hair, like imagine a mullet, just super bushy, long, about, shoulder length, just super white, beard, glasses. Not like an epic beard, not like a fully grown Santa beard, but, this is Santa's off season. He looked kind of like Santa. The similarity was not lost on me. But I'm sitting there on the opposite end of the room, just reading Deathly Hallows at this point. Just, okay, cool. So we're sitting there, and he's reading his own book, okay, which, as I figured out later, was a book on sailing, like a book on, like, how to sail a boat and, shipmanship, shipmanship, I don't know, sailor book, I don't know, okay, but anyway, so I'm sitting there reading, he's sitting there reading. Other guy walks in that also has an appointment, and so, he sits closer to the Santa guy than me, and the Santa guy just turns to him and just starts talking to him about his book out of nowhere. So much so that I thought this guy knew him. But no, they were complete strangers. And he just, like, the way that he talked about it was like, you know how you, like, ease yourself into a conversation where it's like, do you know anything about sailing? Like, that's how you would ease yourself in the conversation, I guess. No, this guy, the Santa dude, just dives into a conversation like, he's like, yeah, it's a pretty big book I'm reading here, yeah. The book I was reading before this on sailing was about 100, maybe 150 pages. This book's about 300 pages. It's way more detailed. See, the thing about sailing, and I'm not shitting you, he just starts a conversation out of nowhere to this other guy, complete stranger, like, not even like starts the conversation, just like in the middle of a conversation, right? And the guy is just sitting there like, uh-huh, like doing the polite thing that when someone just keeps talking to you, and like it's like mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like it's the kind of reaction you would expect if I were to like walk into like just sit down next to somebody on like the bus, and just somebody I don't even know, and just so in the last chapter of One Piece, Law and Kid and Luffy show up, and it's just freaking crazy. Now, the thing you got to remember, of course, about Luffy is that he's been training in Ryuo for like the last 20 chapters, so we're really pumped to see him. But honestly, I'm more excited to see what Kid's got to do. That was like the level of this, except it was about sailing. This dude's going into detail about the book, all the different riggings for the sails, how you sail a book, then how you sail a ship, and then he goes into detail on his whole life. And it's like, the first time I sailed on a sailboat when I was 15 years old. My grandfather took me out on his boat. Let me tell you, and he's talking about where he sailed at and everything. And the entire time, this guy's like, this Santa dude's just giving him his life story, and he's talking loud enough. It's not a big waiting room. He's talking long enough. I'm sitting there reading my book, and I'm just like, I can't even read it because he's talking so loudly. I can't even focus on my book, and I'm just glancing up every now and then just to get the other guy's reactions of Finally, the nurse comes back and is like, oh, by the way, the guy he was talking to, the guy that was like, he was a doctor too. He came out like, I forget his last name, like, Dr. Smith, the dermatologist will see you now. He's like, oh yes, of course. So he gets up and walks away. He goes back in to see the doctor. And so it's back to just me and, sailing Santa Claus over here. And so he goes right back to reading his book as soon as he leaves. He's just like, So he goes right back into reading this giant sailing book he has. I don't look up. I don't look up at all. I'm on the opposite end of the waiting room, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just, Horcruxes. Okay, how do you destroy Horcruxes, Hermione? I don't know. Let's find out. So I'm just reading the book, because I know if I make even a picosecond of eye contact with this guy, he's immediately going to be like, so the bow of the ship is, so fine. Okay, so we keep reading for like 5 more minutes. Eventually, my mom comes back. She was done. She walks back into the waiting room. She talks to the nurse. She gets an appointment scheduled, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, we'll see you next week. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, fine. So my mom walks back, and she's like, okay, you ready to go, Matthew? I'm like, yeah, let's go. We get up and ready to walk out the door. As we're walking out the door, the guy, leans forward, and his glasses fall off of his face, and they land on the floor. Now, like I said, this guy was old, and he was also pretty chubby, so he was having, some difficulty to, So, I see him drop his glasses, and so I'm like, okay, I go over, he's like, oh, you need some help, sir? And he's like, oh, thank you. So I pick up his glasses, and I hand them to him. That is where I should have stopped that. I should have just handed them back to him, and, he said thank you, and I said you're welcome, and I should have just walked away. But I didn't. I guess because I thought I was so close to being out. I guess because I thought, we're in the middle of walking out the door. I handed him back his glasses. He said thank you. I said you're welcome. I was walking back to the door where my mom was, and I turned to him and I said, enjoy your sailing book, or I hope you'll, learn some stuff about sailing. And I don't know why I said that, because his eyes, peaked. I was like, oh, are you into sailing, young man? And I, on the inside, I was on the outside, I was like, oh, I mean, I've been kind of interested, it's all right. I've never really had a chance to. But on the inside, I'm like, why did you do that? And so he just, once again, he's like, are you into sailing? And I'm like, I've never really sailed before, but I guess it'd be cool. Sailing is an art. Crap. I'm holding the door open. My mom is standing right there looking happy because she has no idea. She has no idea about what just happened. That conversation with the other guy. She was in the doctor's office getting freaking skin tags tacked off of her body. She doesn't even know. So she's just there smiling oh, you're having a conversation with this guy. But then, see, my mom, like I said, though, she's a cashier too. So she knows when somebody gets on a roll, when a customer comes through and you're like, how are you today? And a normal person just says, I'm good, beep beep beep, okay, transaction over. But every once in a while you get the people that are like, how are you today, sir? Oh, I could be better. So this morning I woke up and my hip was acting up, so I went over to Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones. Shit. Like, they just keep on going. So I'm holding the door open, like, waiting to walk, hoping to give a visual cue to this guy, like, hey, we're in the middle of walking out. Like, I don't know if he expected us to, like, shut the door and sit down and start things. So he just goes on and on about, he's talking about the different sails. He's like, the thing about sailing ships is, like, there's the main sail, and then you have the other sail that, like, directs it. And my mind is thinking about, like, the Thousand Sunny and the Going Merry from One Piece, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. There is on the Going Merry, there was the main sail, but then there was, like, another sail behind it that, like, steered, like, the direction of the ship, that caught the wind in various directions. So I knew what he was talking about. He just goes into great detail with this, and I just wanted to get going because I was hungry, man. We were gonna go pick up Red Lobster after this. So he goes on about this for like a minute, and you could my mom's smile like slowly fades, like. And then finally, I felt so damn bad. But we did have like or like I had like 3 o'clock. We had to be at Red Lobster to pick up our food. We did have a thing, and I was like, he was like right, because he just wasn't giving me a moment, like just like the other guy. He doesn't like wait and pause. He just like keeps talking about it over and over again, and eventually I get to the point where I'm just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's awesome. I gotta go. We're late for an appointment. I'm not wearing a watch. I'm like, yeah, we're really late. We gotta get going. I'm so sorry. And we just literally walk out the door into the parking lot when the guy was in mid-sentence. I felt so bad. I hope he learns shit about sailing. And you know what? As a caveat to this, that guy might seriously have inspired me to buy a sailboat, because I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of interested now. Like, so maybe at some point in my life, like around here, I live in the middle of Pennsylvania. I live in the mountains. I mean, there's a few lakes around here that are decent sized, but there's no big like boating community. All right. But I'll tell you what, if I ever find myself maybe in my later years, and like maybe I'm this guy's age in the twilight years of my life, I move to Florida or like upstate Michigan or something, and there's like lakes everywhere, and there's a big sailing community, and there's like docks everywhere. Hell, man, in my 60s, in my 70s, I might buy myself a goddamn sailboat and buy that same book and learn about it. And I'm like, man, yep, sailing is an art form. I agree with that guy. And then maybe someday when I'm that old and I'm also in my local doctor's office, I'll find some random kid that was my age, and the cycle will perpetuate anew. So that's my story. That's all I got. Well, I've taken up some of your time. I hope if you are in the middle of quarantine and you wanted some extra teching action, I hope this satiated you. Thanks for watching, and sailing is an art. He actually said that. I'm not exaggerating. He said, sailing is an art. Yep. Signing out. Bye. Be safe, everyone.